Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Hello, Andy.
Hey, Bam.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty damn well. Just was on a call with your ex-girlfriend.
That must have been beautiful.
It was. I what do I have right now? We have a special guest. You want to share? Because you know this one far better than I do, I'd say.
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, let's at first just we'll announce it, get to our jingle, and get to the real meat of this.
Yeah.
So we have Jasmijn Schrofer on a wonderful
chaos.
And I got to find out.
We have to sync with the chaos. We have to sync.
Let's do it. On a wonderful chaos. Yes, here we are with Jasmijn. Jasmijn. Let me count the ways. You're going to share a little bit about Jasmijn to introduce her in before we show the intro for her.
Jasmijn is actually my neighbor. But I think before that, we actually met at the organic market.
Okay.
Yeah, she used to work there.
Did you try to pick up on her like all the other women you've met in your life?
Absolutely.
Nice. How did that go?
I failed miserably.
I can see that. I don't
like back then, she didn't take my shit.
No, she's pretty strong. She's a strong woman for sure.
She's definitely sensible.
Yes, she has kind of a very masculine streak to her, you know? Yeah. Yes.
And when she moved onto my street, we became really good friends. She became one of my go-to huggy people.
Oh, beautiful.
And since October, she's a documentarist, of course.
Yes.
And since November, December, she's been following me in my rituals and in my life, just catching snippets, and we have no idea what's going to happen to it.
I mean, you live such an extreme life. It'll just be curious to see someone who lives that extreme, what comes of it.
I love it. So shall we bring her on, Andy?
No, we don't bring her on. Let's build her up a little bit more. Because I also want to get to look at her trailer before she comes on.
Ooh.
I prepared that in the hopper. But I one thing I find so cool about anyone who does something like this is that, you have to think, in my mind, there is the inception of an idea, and then there's the materialization of the idea. And if you think to yourself, probably 95% of the people, or even more of the ideas that come in our head, never come to realization. So in order for an idea to go into the process of creation and then even be completed is like a hell of a lot of hard work.
Yeah, definitely.
So now you take someone who has an idea, which is an abstract idea. I mean, it's not like I can say, hey, you're going to hold it. It's going to be a film. It's going to be something that you're going to have to trust me to produce it. I don't know what she's done before, but I'm assuming she's never created a film before this.
She has.
She has in this feature length space, or we'll get to that. We'll see.
Get to that.
But my feeling is so now I'm going to go, and then how do I translate the idea into a Kickstarter campaign where I raise money and have someone buy into my dream before it's even become reality?
Like how does she end up in Africa, finding a village out of nowhere, like crazy?
Exactly.
And if you think about society and most people, everyone has great ideas and potential, but most of the time there's a saying, most people go to the graveyard with their ideas.
Yeah. So we get to have some fun to see. And I also want to know, how many people have discussed Kickstarter and never really done it or materialized. So in some ways she got something to work, and I totally want to get into that and see what she figured out.
Yeah. And from what I know from her, she's got another idea now, and she's already creating another.
I mean, the other idea for me is even more fascinating. I cringe. The empathetic side of me has a hard time with certain information, and she's revealed certain information to me that makes me kind of feel sick inside.
Yeah.
So we might get to that. We might not get to that. We'll have to see.
I'm actually going to endorse that we get into that. I'd love to see you cringe.
Just the thought of it makes me sick. So we're going to go to start. We're going to watch the trailer that was used for the funding of the event. This isn't the trailer for the film, but this is for the funding of the actual event. Yeah.
Is the
Our
volume on?
society is illuminated 24 hours a day. It has become so common, so normalized, that we cannot imagine a world where it's dark as night once the sun sets. It's 2 a.m. now. I have to close the curtains to keep the street lights out. We didn't have that a couple generations ago. We didn't have all this access to light we have now. 24-hour economy demands 24-hour light. Seeing my first firefly last summer actually made me appreciate darkness again. I started wondering how it would be to live in a place with no artificial lighting, and what the impact of lighting has on our well-being, as well as on our economy. The idea has grown into a project called The Death of Darkness. For this documentary, I will travel to Kenya, where I will become part of a small animistic community without electric or solar lighting, and where the first streetlight will be placed in the center of the village square. Till then, the moon has been the only influence on their nights. We will get to witness the impact of the arrival of artificial lighting and the change it will have on this community. And in China, they're producing a fake moon to light up the night skies. How will this impact our society? The research for this film has been completed, and the contacts in Kenya have been arranged. To make this documentary, I need an additional 15,000 euros. This is why I need your help. I hope you'll see and feel the necessity of making this film as much as we do.
Wow.
Intense.
Yeah, it's let me see. Are we on? I don't see. We have to get back in sync. Yeah. So I think it would probably be nice to bring her back on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Jasmijn, Death of Darkness. Hidden.
Ta-da!
Hey, Jasmijn.
Hey,
Hey.
neighbor.
Oh, hello.
Thank you for joining us today.
That was epic. I like the beginning.
Did you?
Thank you for introducing me this way.
Uh-huh.
It seemed
Yeah.
like a game that Bumbles and I once played, the butterfly.
Uh-huh.
Ah, nice. The butterfly is a game where the person receiving love
Uh-huh.
turns their back to us, and people talk about them like they're not in the room,
Oh, yeah.
and we're just sharing what we appreciate and what we see in them. So she wasn't on the screen, but she could just receive it.
Yeah, I could
Oh, yeah,
hear
that's
it, and
true.
I
And
felt
what did
like,
it do to you?
wow, thank you.
What did that do to you?
Made me smile, feel a bit sweaty hands,
Uh-huh.
make me move my spine. Like I always get kind of wiggly when I get shy.
Oh, beautiful. I've got tons of questions, but as I always like to do is I want to default if there's anything jumping on you at the moment.
Yeah, why did you say yes to this, Jazzy?
I just felt like talking.
Not being alone all day.
I don't have another moment now to actually launch my film. Like things are not clear. So it also was just a nice moment to share with other people what my process has been, and I don't have the nature of filming these things myself. Like I tend to be behind the camera instead of in front of the camera. So an invitation for me is way easier to hop along with, to talk about my process, than just showing the film when it's done. So
Yeah.
thanks for inviting me.
When did the idea come?
2 years ago.
And how?
The firefly hit me in the face.
Okay, where were you?
I was traveling with my grandmother in Taiwan, and it was our trip together. And the first week we spent in the city of Taiwan, Taipei, which was very busy and extremely overwhelming, good food. And then we went into the nature, Sun Moon Lake, and there I went for a little hike in the nighttime, and I saw a firefly, and it was actually about to die. It was out of season, so it was like it was the light was so dramatic. So it got my attention, and then I saved it. So I actually intervened with nature, and just that whole little experience I had there made me think about light and darkness, our perception of it. It's actually way more kind of spiritual than you think in the film. Like I found a place, and I had this real abstract idea, and I tried to create a story to find the meaning of light and darkness with something happening right now, instead of using just all abstract images or voiceover. But maybe I'm jumping already too
No, but I
fast
mean, was
into.
that story? So I have so when I have, like I did that book tour, and I said, I was in the shower and I said, oh, I'm traveling to America for 3 months. Like I didn't decide it. It decided me. So in some way, I'm wondering if that same thing happened to you. Did you say, oh, I'm making a movie, Firefly, I'm doing this, bang. Like when did the idea came with the Firefly, but did the idea like this is going to be a movie? I don't care what, it's just going to happen. When did that happen?
I personally I am never sure. When I'm even making the film, I am not realizing that I'm making that film. So that bam moment, it's so abstract, because it happens on, even when you're making arrangements to go to Africa. Even if you meet your producer and you have all the money, it still doesn't feel like real, because every single time in the process you're completely being challenged in reshaping your film. Like you're reinventing your film every single day. Um, like the book, I don't know if there's the same thing for writing a book. Like it just goes on and on, and
Yeah, I
and
guess there's a curiosity that comes as you speak. It almost sounds as if you were never even sure if the movie was going to be made.
or yes, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And what made it like
or
that?
what about? You don't know what it's going to be about also sometimes, or a lot of the times.
So you
Because the
dedicated. This is kind
idea
of
doesn't
beautiful.
match
Yeah.
with the reality.
I mean, what you're honing in on one of the most beautiful things of life that I know. Because what you're saying is I'm dedicating to a direction without defining what it has to be.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
lot of unknown.
Yeah. And that's wonder.
Yeah.
And scary as hell at the same time.
Yes. But there are some promises you're making to other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why it's scary as hell. There's attachment to a result that other people may expect that you're not even aware, you're not even certain if you can deliver.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with the street lamp really hit me, like when you were sitting in the beginning of the trailer. Like I'm in my room right now and I'm going to close the curtains to get rid of this light. Like I literally put curtains and still the light comes in.
Yeah.
I had to put aluminium foil on my windows so I can really sleep in a dark room. I love sleeping in the dark.
Yeah.
So just to get back to this sort of understanding. So you and this is something that I think is really beautiful for everyone to hear, is that this is where your life changes. Actually, I don't know anyone's life that doesn't change having done what you did. Dedicate to something without knowing ahead of time what it's going to be, with all the risk that entails.
Yeah.
So then the question I have for you is, given that, what did you learn through that? Not only through the movie, but about yourself?
I think I have a club for this. I have a club, a film club, and we also are like a therapy group because this is so fucking scary, and we need each other to um, remind ourselves of the projects that we've chosen, and then also the obligations. So sometimes we become like a martyr of our own ideas, or a victim of our own ideas that we once kind of put out there. And what I have learned is to enjoy the struggle that you have chosen. And it is good to remember that you have chosen this, and that it is kind of a risk, but a privilege to choose your ideas to come true.
Wow. That's beautiful. You get to decide your struggle.
Yeah.
And you've had quite a lot of struggles, like in making this movie. Like, and because I know the behind the scenes, also on your last trip, like, can you talk a little bit about some of the things where you almost felt like you wanted to give up, or like, fuck, this is not going to happen?
Well, a lot of things that you have in your mind don't match with the things that are right in front of you. So there's this openness that I need when I'm traveling and like hunting for the story, that I can be touched. And a lot of the times I'm trying to create a lot of opportunities and possibilities, and I did my research for that kind of high probability level. And when it seems like you're finding, like you're getting so close, and you have the right location and the right timing and the right people, or right people, and then you're there, but like the people themselves don't want to collaborate, or they don't see the purpose of making this film. Why is some stupid Westerner coming over to shoot a film in Kenya, and we can have fun meanwhile? And so I'm trying to tell them that I just want to shoot their lives, and they want to act out in front of the camera, or they want money. And then you get into all these ethical dilemmas, like, why am I actually here to shoot this film? This is no fun anymore. Now I have to convince these people. Now I even have to bribe these people. And documentary filmmaking in Holland is not about payment. It's about like finding a mutual goal and giving voice to someone who wants to be heard, blah blah. And there, I experienced they didn't care. So their interests were just in money, and my passion is not driven by that resource of money.
There's two things that jumped out at me really strongly in what you just spoke to. When you spoke about creating the opportunities before you got there, right? Like having a clear vision of what are the situations that if you record them and document them, they'll create a good movie. Like I can imagine that having a limited time, having a limited budget, not being able to sort of sit around and wait for the things to happen, but having to say, we need to kind of create some of this, would easily put tons of pressure on the creative process, in the sense of it just doesn't materialize and you film it. Would that be true?
Exactly.
And how then did you sort of navigate that? Because you're going there, you got a short time, you got to film, and you got to get meaningful stuff. So how did that then happen? How was that for you?
Trying to enjoy the struggle. Listening to how other people react when you're there, and also observing the situation. I mean, I'm there to shoot a film, but taking my camera out is not the thing I should do in order to eventually make my film. So, um, like the probability of making that film, I think, is higher if I have trust first. So I need to give myself and yeah, just share
Yeah.
everything about my life and even my body if they want to touch me.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, children playing, curiosity or whatever. And
Yeah. It's because
and
it's
I
kind
think
of interesting.
show that I'm there to invest more time in them instead of just a one-time thing. And that is still very hard because now I've built this relationship and I feel the obligation of going back.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I kind of had to prove that I was different than other people.
I was going to say you almost may have pulled out your camera only to film the struggle and made the movie about struggling to film a movie in where was it now?
Kenya.
Andy, that's what I'm thinking every single time.
You just turned the movie to getting things done in Africa.
Like, in what way
Yeah.
could I make a more meta level film, incorporating
Yeah.
all these levels and breaking, the fourth wall? Because now
Yeah.
this film is an illusion of everything that happened and everything that I observed without being observed myself. But of
Yep.
course, I attracted a lot of attention.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, in some fascinating way, that film, in a way, is probably as interesting as the film as The Death of Darkness.
As the story behind it, you mean?
Yeah, the story behind it.
Yeah.
Thinking about like we get the footage of you having to go through 3 days of tormentation to get into a house, and then all of a sudden you're in the house, and in Death of Darkness, it looks like it happened so naturally, as if it just was like, oh yeah, we just took a camera into someone's house and welcomed us in, and they acted like they didn't, like we weren't even there. After having to convince them for 3 days, just act like I'm not here.
Oh, this is actually, we could dedicate this whole episode on just the struggle itself and not the celebration of their end result, but the celebration of the struggle.
Yeah, I mean, that's life, actually. I mean, if I know of anything that brought my life joy, it was celebrating the struggle. And if I know of anyone that lives in misery, it's that they replay the thing that didn't go right as if that was actually the problem, that if that just went away, that it would be okay. Right?
And that's why we need storytelling, right?
Yeah.
On your last trip, you even wanted to buy them, to take something with you to give them. Like, I can't just go there and not bring something with. And then you had this crazy idea to buy a water generator, like to get clean water from the ground.
Wait, now there are, I think, multiple, because I did a crowdfunding on Facebook also for the party. And that was like a light launching party. Is that what you mean, Bambos?
Yeah, but before you left, like 2 days before you left, you came up with this crazy idea to buy a generator to give them something useful to get clean water from the ground.
Yeah.
And you were doing all this research.
Yeah, I was doing tons of research on how to solve their water problem. But I gave up on that search because it felt like that wasn't my purpose. And their situation and their climate is also, like, I've experienced the climate, but I don't know anything about the seasonal changes, and I've never experienced one of those floods that they have. So, and I know they have a lot of calcium in the water, so it breaks machines. And just to get into all of this,
Now, this is kind of cool because if you're now, as you speak, like what I'm hearing is you had your vision, Death of Darkness. I'm going to go to Kenya, find a tribe that has never had light, and we're going to record that as an experience. And through that experience, all of a sudden, you started to get more bought into other things that had nothing to do with the film.
Exactly.
And in that,
Yes.
in some ways, I could
You
very
see a
much.
lot of
Go ahead.
yeah, you see a lot of other things um crossing your way that are actually distracting for your mission that you're on. Um but sometimes those are of more, like they are in more need of water and food than light. So and I also knew this when I was starting this project, like the chances are pretty big that I will find tons of other problems and tons of other stories that I kind of have to ignore.
Yeah.
So um
I mean, this is part of life. Is what this is like a metaphor for life in general. Like, think about
mm,
every time we have ever decided we wanted to do anything and set out on that path. Like, there's 100 distractions that pull us away from that thing. And each
yeah.
one of them is sort of tied to an identity. Like, imagine what a horrible person you are if you actually ignore the water issue while you're dealing on the light issue, right?
Yeah, and you don't know, right, if you have chosen the right path.
Yeah.
If people are asking you for help, you're like, hey, someone's physically now, just grabbing my attention. Have I been on the right track or not?
Yeah.
um
I think that's really part of life where I've noticed in myself, if I'm determined to do something, that I often lose sight of the beauty of this moment because I'm now stuck in the idea of what it's supposed to be.
hmm.
Um, yeah, I watched a wonderful documentary last night. Very good. Well, highly recommended. Gay porn documentary, Bambos, just in case you're interested.
Love it.
It was,
And,
I don't know if you've heard of it. What?
no.
It's called, I have to write it down. It's called Circus of Books. And the reason why your thought came up is that in the middle of it, the daughter, I think she studied maybe at like USC or something, film school. And she filmed her parents they started, the two parents, they hid the fact that they had a gay porn. That's how the family lived, from gay porn films. They even produced them. But the kids didn't know, or the kind of a strict Jewish family.
Wow.
And the beauty of it was that the child, she got old enough, and then she got interested, right? The kids figured out what was really going on. They used to go to the work, and the mom said, just look down. You can't look up. Look down when we go into the office. But the mom, they closed the bookstore, but she said, the daughter, as she's filming her, the mom kept saying to her, this is not interesting. Why are you filming our lives? The normal, this isn't interest. Like, she kept saying the same thing you were saying about the people in Kenya, was that
Hmm.
no one can think to themselves that whatever you'll film will be actually interesting, because there needs to be this creation of something. We have to play pretend for it to be interesting enough.
But
Yeah.
what the moments where I felt a lot of beautiful connection was when I got to experience a connection with them through wonder. So in moments of silence and just looking at things and spending time together, asking or living their lifestyle, and then smiling when you see something beautiful which is catching your attention, and then kind of point at this little small moment what is happening, like this is beautiful, like this is, I love it. And
Mm.
um then they experience like, oh wow, what you experience now, I haven't experienced that, because for me this is my normal.
Mm.
And um I think they feel some appreciation there, or admiration, and then I feel also an opening for, yeah, mutual understanding or collaboration. That's how I would like to call
Do you
it.
have a specific story in that regard? Something that's jumped out at you?
um well, what I found very touching was people who were in the village where, so I was in a desert of like the sub-Sahara Africa, and it's the northern part of Kenya. And there's this whole part without electricity, but then bam, in the middle of this whole part with no electricity, there's this place where they're going to get a mini grid. So it's not going to be connected to the main grid, which is going from like Ethiopia to Nairobi, so capital of Kenya. But this little place, so this little place is attracting a lot of nomads now to settle. And I was amazed by women carrying bricks on their back, working on the infrastructure for this village, because this village was just becoming more crowded, like it's urbanizing. That's what's happening. And it was actually at the end of my whole shooting period, and there were kind of more and more things that were, for me, related to my story, but not so much related to like literal light and darkness. And I wanted to make a shot of these women carrying stones up the hill, and all 30 of them were trying to ask for some money and trying to get some money from me taking that shot. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a really expensive shot if I have to pay all these women. What's the deal? And then the villager came that helped me or that's been around with me for so many days. He tried to talk with all these women and tried to explain in my behalf why this was so important to him. And I never had like this villager also was in the first day asking me to pay him money, and I didn't. But then in the end, he respected what I was doing and felt understood, and he understood even what I was trying to film there. I had the feeling he never saw a film in his life, but I had the feeling he knew why it was important for me to get that shot.
Yeah.
And
so basically, I mean, you're going through this process. You can't not be like a massive distraction for the world around you. So you want to catch glimpses of things going on around you, but you're like, they have that saying, of course, the scientific experiment gets disrupted because you are in the experiment yourself. So in some ways, even trying to catch these women, like the fact that they're probably even in some ways posing for you, thinking that they'll get more money if they give you a better shot or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that must be also a bit of a pain, because your vision from that dragonfly to that materialization and this is sort of, there's such a wide gap between those two places.
Yeah, you don't have any like the awe moment.
Yeah.
Of amazement and wonder that always happens to you, and to recreate that in front of the camera or to keep that disrupted when getting your camera out is very challenging.
Wow. That
And
sounds like a beautiful journey. If I hear you talk about it, I mean, it feels like I said, it's a metaphor for all of life as far as I see it. Like if there's anything, if I look at your filming as a spiritual journey, then I see it in light of all spiritual journeys, where we set out into the wilderness not knowing what we're going to get by going there, but we're going to go. And then we find out, wow, it's not what I expected. I didn't even know I expected it. I just didn't expect to have to pay people to actually film them.
That's quite an experience.
Yeah.
But I never planned on doing.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you have to deal with all these new situations and also new hierarchies, and learn so much about connection and communication, and all because you were there to make a film. Like, and now I have to deal with all these situations because I wanted to make a film. Like, I really have to remind myself why
beautiful
I was actually there, but also completely see that as the absurdity of life. Like, the filmmaking is just the absurdity of life. It has nothing to do with like my mission. And I think Klaas is my sound guy. He said on very funny moments to me, like niet vergeten te genieten, hè?
You're
Like,
bleeding to death. Don't forget to enjoy it as you're bleeding to death.
yeah, don't forget
1,000.
to enjoy. And I was usually like in a situation where I was trying to like, frustrated, and
Uh-huh.
your mind is in such a different train of thoughts.
Yeah.
And then he says, don't forget to enjoy. And it's like, whoa, we are here
What a
in
gift.
Kenya because of a stupid film, dealing with stupid problems because of a stupid film.
Yeah.
No, this is great.
Yeah.
This film is great, and this place is great, and these people are great. And
beautiful. Do you have any? I saw you had a question before.
Yeah, two things come to me. The first one, the Kenyan man who came to talk on your behalf. What did you perceive as being, in his eyes, important?
Oh, that's hard to say because I have to like crawl into his mind, right?
So you never talked about it.
There was a really big language barrier. But he just grabbed my shoulder and he stood by my side and he was like, I said, no, let's leave. And I feel too much stress of the people and they don't want to be filmed. They were really getting angry. And he was in the beginning doing like crisis control, trying not to let riots would begin. I didn't want to create so much like stress and disruption on my last day in the village. And also this feeling of abusing people.
Yeah.
And he actually told me to be patient, on my last day. So he was like, I will take care of this. And that was where I just felt so loved.
It's beautiful.
Even though there was no, like language in common, and welcomed, and yeah.
Nice. And the second thing is, how did you end up in Kenya? Like, how do you even find a village that is not connected to the rest of society? Like, it's in complete isolation. Like, you Googled?
That's where it started, of course. And books. I read books, and I made a whole list of kind of bullet points of things that were important, things that I should look out for. Like, what do I want visually, which are powerful elements? Like, I want fire. If there's no artificial light, I want fire. So, where can I see fire? Oh, NASA has a whole page on where I can see forest fires and also slash and burn communities. So people that
But how did you
still
get to
use fire for agricultural and for cooking. And then I made a map and I located some places. I chose Kenya because actually it like the tourism is quite well there. So I knew that there is some kind of infrastructure also within the film industry that I can find help. So there are some Kenyan, like via. I know people that have shot in Kenya. So I could talk with them about their experience. And then I got some contact details of local line producers there that could help me.
Oh,
and they were
wow.
like, yeah, I think this is a good place. And I contacted the Ministry of Energy in Kenya. And I asked if they would share their information about electrifying rural areas with me. And I did not get a reply from them. And I just decided to go there because I also did not want to like make a film about an NGO bringing light to a community, because then they also have another priority for collaborating, which is like promotional purposes. And like I don't want to be in the eyes of the community part of the NGO. I want to be independent. So I thought the best way to find my story is really go independently. And when I went to Nairobi and I still didn't got a reply from the electrification authorities, I just went on Google once again, Google Maps, even though I was in Kenya, and I looked in the location and I got an Uber, and the Uber took me to the office, and I just stepped into that office and I waited for 4 hours. But after I think 4 hours, we were like me and my line producer were on the bench waiting for the CEO, waiting for the minister to talk to us and to share with us the information he had about all these little tiny places that were going to be electrified. And
That's
I
pretty
also never
incredible.
expected to be there in that office. And also my line producer said like, oh, I don't know, let's
But
just
That's
try.
just a long shot.
well, it's not a long shot. This is exactly what people who want to get stuff done, how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, but she didn't know that
Yeah.
she would have like she waits there 4 hours, and for all she knows, the guy might come out and say, "I'm going on a lunch break," and doesn't come back. Like that could have been your day. Like
Yeah.
like you went there not knowing, and that I find that fucking incredible.
And I would say anyone who's listening, if you're not acting like Jasmijn in your life, then basically you're waiting for stuff to happen because no one's going to make it happen for you. Like anyone that succeeded in their life does exactly what you've done. And it's so incredible to hear the determination and clarity and how you acted. Like
But it doesn't mean that there is no struggle.
No, I mean, the whole thing is, I think the thing I've noticed in my life is that people that walk away from the struggle are the ones that never get the thing done that they intended or desired, because there's 20 things that'll stop you from between now and the final product to get it done. So if you don't say, screw it, I'm going to wait at the office until the guy shows up. And then if he doesn't show up, I'll wait and come back tomorrow. Like that level of determination is the only thing I know that's created success in anyone I've worked with. Like everything else has been convenient. It might happen. It might not happen. I love Zuster Kadago. If you see his comment down beneath, it's been there for quite some time now. Watching from the Netherlands, I met her in Kenya, and she's amazing and full of self-confidence. I assume you know him.
I met her. I met her in Kenya.
Or is it a her? I didn't see don't say from the name. Yeah, and so in that sense, what I'm hearing, and this is what I really want to make clear, is that when I hear people like you, like anyone that doesn't operate from that level of strength and clarity, then I'm always like, oh, good luck on that. So congratulations.
There are actually as much challenges in not doing as challenges in doing.
Yeah.
Only in the challenges of not doing, I think I tend to get stuck and not learn anything. And in the challenges of doing, there's way more growth. But I mean, there are several areas in my life where I still find it challenging to be in that flow of doing and to find that same curiosity I have.
Yeah. But I think that comes with that level of determination, because when I said to you, I'm going to take this trip, I'm going to drive 3 months through the US and stop at 60 locations. I came up with arbitrary numbers that were insane. Like they were just stupid numbers. But I created that reality through that level of I'm going to make this happen. And what I'm hearing in you is that, and not everything in my life rises to that. Let's get that clear. I might go on a five-year hiatus, like just say, hey, I'm not feeling the impulse to do this dramatic act. And so what I hear, and which is just beautiful, is that act took you on this journey. And I love that we get to spend this time sharing the journey part of it and not the let's talk about death of darkness. Yeah. So congratulations. What an incredible testament to what you've done in your life, Like
I'm seeing images of your mother watching this and being really proud of you.
And also sharing this on her Facebook.
Nice. We won't talk about all your drug usage or all of those you did that were illegal, all that stuff. No, Mom, it's okay.
No, we're going to keep it proper.
But what if I wonder and I think that's interesting also to talk about this topic with the three of us. If we didn't have this framework, like of this period of time or of this film, like there would be complete unknown.
What do you mean this framework? I lost you there. What do you mean?
For me, I needed a framework, and the framework was make a film, and and this is my budget. That's also that's a restriction, and that works. You know, all those limitations. But what if we had no limitations?
Interesting. That leads me to, I saw a great speaker once, and he basically said, I want you to think of some way that people can become far more efficient. And then
that's too big for me to think about.
But follow me, so I'll get there. So he says, and then he gave the audience like, I don't know, like 30 seconds to think about it. And you're just sitting there like, and then he says, and make it a product. It had to be a product, by the way, that you would sell. And then he said, okay, I'm going to give you another exercise. I want you to spend the next 30 seconds thinking of a product that makes you more efficient from the time you leave your house to the time you go to work. What would that product be? And then all of a sudden, everyone was coming up with all these ideas, right? So in some strange way, it's the limitation of the context which gives us the opportunity to create wonder.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
imagination.
Yeah, it sparks the imagination. So you and Bambos and I, we all choose the context which we say, okay, we have that much money, we have that much time, and we have that much capacity within ourselves to do whatever it is that we'll do. And then it changes on a daily, of course.
I think now I realize why you are like a little bit obsessed with filming me, because in a way we are very much alike.
Yeah.
In a disciplined, determined way, and devoted way.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see that connection until this moment.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, you both have that.
I really understand what you're doing, Bumbles. And I feel it. I feel that you fucking love life. And what you said about, for instance, the weather, that the weather is like a life itself. It's not always perfect, and we tend to only celebrate those moments when like the sun's out. But then Bumbles just goes into the rain because he enjoys life so much, and life comes, weather comes with rain.
Yeah.
So he doesn't ignore that part, that dark part of weather.
I was going to say, you and I, right, would call that the dark part, but Bambos would just say, no, that's just another reason to celebrate.
Yeah, and now also then talking about my film, I have totally deconstructed the meaning of kind of light and darkness in language.
Oh, beautiful.
So I also don't see, darkness, and it's so sad that darkness is, it has all these connotations of evil and bad, and economically, it's talking also about illiteracy and poverty rates, and all these things are high criminal rates. All these things are connected to darkness.
Yeah.
Like you go to this village, Jasmijn, and just looking at some of the pictures, I mean, these people were living in the dark, right? They only had daylight.
They had torches, actually.
Torches,
like
okay.
Spotlights.
But what is their level of happiness there? I mean, they've got survival, but what is their level of happiness and gratitude in a natural way? And I don't even know what the answer would be, actually. I haven't been there.
Well, it's maybe very hard to put in perspective what I'm going to say, but I think, me wanting a flat tummy and not having a flat tummy can be just as making me unhappy as someone that is unhappy because he cannot get some basic needs fixed. So in a way, the problems are completely different that they're dealing with, but I think the happiness is way more pure, and there's so much more gratitude. The level of happiness.
I mean, what I hear you saying.
What was the level of happiness in our society? I also don't know.
Mm.
Even that answer to that question. There's still a lot of unhappiness for stupid things. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And
It sounds like they don't need to journal, for example, to find gratitude. Like they're like, oh, I'm alive, I'm grateful.
well,
Or
rain
there's
after
rain.
a dry season is already a blessing.
Wow.
So the fact that they're like outside and all the times, and then going outside of their huts when it's raining, like hallelujah, what a blessing it is. Every little change there, and they know how to read the clouds and how to read the stars, and how to help a baby camel get on their own 2 feet as soon as possible. The getting water from the wells, you need a lot of collaboration and physical exercise. You don't need to drag yourself out of bed to do your physical exercise like we do. But there you need to drag yourself out of bed because there's just tons of obligations, and you need to do things before it's super hot. And you just burn, and then you are dead by the end of the evening if you haven't gotten your water in the morning.
I'd like to transition out of this, if I may, because we've got 8 minutes left with her.
I have one last question. You still have contact with them, I assume, right? Or to some degree. Like, I'm curious about how is Corona impacting them?
It is impacting them. I know there's also a lot of fear, even in the village where I was shooting the film, and I don't really think that Corona would ever get there. I have like no clue how it would get there. Just by imagining the journey that I had to go through traveling from Nairobi to this place, like I don't think it can ever reach a small town like that, unless there's another crazy documentary filmmaker walking this planet that is going to this village. But the people in the village know about it. They knew about it months ago. Like they were following and the spread. So they're asking me, how am I doing in Corona? Are you in quarantine? Are you on social media a lot? And in Nairobi, I like know about that there are like 1,000 cases. I know that there's a curfew from 7 o'clock, so you cannot leave the house by 7. So the streets are empty. And unlike in the Netherlands, you can still be outside in the nighttime. So they have completely different rules over there. And there's fear. Yeah. Just like there is everywhere, I assume.
I didn't know in Holland we're not allowed to go out at night.
And still more people die from malaria in Kenya. So that also puts more things in perspective, I think, for them. I have the feeling, I'm not sure. I mean, I have to confirm with a lot of people to say like this in a scientific way, but or speaking generally, I think they have life and death way more around them in everyday life. These little circumstances, like a Scorpio can bite you and kill you. There is bacteria in the water, so there's less control. That's how I experienced life there, and we have so much control over here that Corona is completely changing this stable society that we have built and this illusion of stability, and um, and yeah, one of the first things that Abidal told me was, well, we still have more people dying from malaria here.
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about Indonesia, Ronnie's like, Andy, people talk about a corona, but we've got dengue fever, and dengue fever is killing off a lot more people per year than corona in their experiences so far. So, yeah, it's all relative based on your benchmark where you live, how it is for you today. We've
Yeah.
only got 5 more minutes with you before we close up, and I had a different question. I wanted to move totally away from this subject for a moment. I know that you're working on another project, which is the project we mentioned at the start of the show, and we don't have a lot of time to talk about it. So
Let's get
I'd
the
love,
let's get the numbers, watching numbers
I,
up
I
right
would,
now.
I would love for you to just share a little bit about that, because it's so fascinating and yet so stomach churning at the same time.
Do you mean by any chance waxing pussies?
Can you do me a favor and just pronounce the last word again, just so we can get our ratings up?
I can't believe she did that. Though.
Oh my God, she
Pubic
knows us
hair
too
and
well.
vulva waxing.
So help, just give us a foreshadowing of what your next project is looking like.
It's gonna be me waxing over 50 women that I want to interview while I am giving them a wax session,
Wow.
a wax treatment.
Hmm.
And it's going to be about little details in their lives that they remember about, like the awareness of their hair and their bodies, and kind of like, oh, whoa, yeah, I am living inside of this body, and obviously there are things I have to take care of, or all these little stories that people attach to themselves, and then it becomes like a life normality for them, like a habit. And I just want to zoom into these little moments where women tell me how they have become the woman they are. And
Wow, that's amazing.
also
And you had to learn this, of course. You had to learn how to do this. You couldn't just like say, I'm going to wax without having an education. So
it was so scary also to pull on someone's vulva lips, like labia lips. Oh,
Like
that's also something that you only can do it right by doing it like real good. You cannot do it like very slowly, rip it off. You will hurt someone so bad if you like don't tear it like a band-aid. Kind of, you have to get it over with.
like, did these women know that you were interviewing them for a documentary?
Yes, yeah, but I wasn't also interviewing them for the documentary yet. I was just waxing.
yeah,
I was
I mean,
just doing my job.
it still has to come, this documentary, I'm assuming. The filming hasn't occurred yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just was kind of tapping into the importance or the insights that I could get from this work and job. So to know a lot of stories and to find like a pattern, to see a pattern in all those stories, and then I think like, I think I found something special here that is untold, that can make me or this project worthy of financing.
That's beautiful. So, I mean, you're laying the groundwork through the research, and then through the research, then you'll do possibly quite similar to what you did with the Death of Darkness.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So you've been busy with this now for half a year. How long? Or you waxed for how long?
For a year. I graduated from the waxing academy last April after I came back from Kenya.
And she hasn't started filming yet.
I love it. You actually have to take on a role or a position in order to understand it. It's absolutely brilliant.
Like, did you also wax men?
No, because you needed another degree for that.
Yeah.
And I think I can improvise because I know how the technique works and how you put the technique on the hair growth. So if I just observe, the testicles and the growth of the hair, I could, I think, do it, but I'm not certified for it.
Okay. Wow.
If you
Like,
want to take a risk,
That's a whole nother
Bambos.
show, Bambos.
like she actually has another documentary also that
That's
she
a
was
whole
sharing
nother
with
show.
me on the bike, but
Wow.
we'll get into it another
Wow.
time.
That's a whole nother.
We're gonna have to bring you on again, Jazzy.
Yes, and you'll need to show us some demonstrations of this so that
No,
we
no,
can
no, no,
actually
no.
fully live it.
We actually don't need the demonstration. And it's just being funny.
You can demonstrate on Bambos. We'll do a video and then we'll play it live.
If people have stories to share with me or want to be waxed by me, as soon as this is over, I'm going to start waxing from my home.
I'm
So
sure
it's
you're going to have a lot of people lining up.
With a camera, right?
No, without a camera, but it's going to be real intimate in my
Nice.
home.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Great.
Jasmine, I love you.
I love you guys.
I love you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for this time together. It was really fun.
Have a good day.
You
Thank
too,
sweetie.
Bye.
What a great person, huh?
Yeah.
What a great person.
That was a fun show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always beautiful to be with people when they're living their passion and seeing like it all at the end, it always looks much easier than it was. So it's always great to hear the journey and the struggle, everything that went into making it happen.
People don't take action on their dreams because of failure.
Yeah.
Like the fear of failure, of the fear of I fail, which means I'm going to be perceived as less than.
Yeah.
They prefer to go that route, like protect that identity, than to take that risk. And
and Jasmijn is certainly a testament to just taking the risk and then figuring it out as she's going along. And if she doesn't figure it out, waiting for 4 hours till the person that shows up does figure it out.
Great.
So thank you all for joining us for another episode of A Wonderful Chaos. It was really great to be with you and Yas today.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And one little announcement, guys. This evening we have connection games. If you haven't tried it out, it's from 6 to 9 p.m. Amsterdam time. 3 hours of sitting on your seat and being poked like a bear.
Nice.
Have a beautiful day. Ciao.
Bye. Love you. Stay safe.